Hello and welcome to a new episode of Mostly Engineering and another part in our Enigma build series. So, welcome to this episode, and today we are going to build the ground structure of our Enigma machine, meaning the ground plate, the seesaw, and the two sides that hold all our rotor mechanics, so that in the coming projects we have a place where we can put our manufactured parts. And these parts will be relatively straightforward. So the ground plate and the seesaw will be made from 3D printing, and the two sides that hold all the mechanics will be CNC'd aluminum. So nothing really new. The two new things we are going to try in this episode is first some resin mixes to get a more durable, better performing part. And the second part is we need to make the axles for the seesaw. And these parts are basically in a 5mm shaft on one side and an M6 bolt on the other side. And the easiest way to do this is to just take a long M6 screw and turn down the stud. So we will see how my little Proxxon Lathe can handle steel. And this is probably the better way to start, as the screws are made from relatively mild steel, and this will be better than the original plan of doing the rotor shaft that will be made from stainless steel and therefore a lot harder. So better start easy and work our way up. So with no further ado, let's get started. So, and here we have the parts I finished so far. So we have the machine side, and as you can see, I have to adjust the CNC again because this hole is definitely not round. But the size is okay, the position is okay, and after we reamed and tapped all the holes, that won't be an issue anymore. And here we have the big parts we 3D printed, and so far I'm really happy with the result. Our ground plate fitted just barely, but it fitted so that it is one piece, and this feels really nice and solid. What I did for both parts is a mixture of a resin that is drill and tappable, because we will have to cut lots of threads in here, and I can also hold the threads, and mix it with a little bit of tough resin to get the most stable parts. And with the ground plate, I'm not worried at all, to be fairly honest. But with the seesaw, as you can see, I also put already a glide bearing in it. But this part has a little bit of a flex, and hopefully that won't be an issue, but only time will tell. So let's ream and tap a lot of holes, put everything in color, and then put it together. So, and let's see how the machine can handle steel. So what we have to do is machine a shaft on top of the screw. So let's just put it in. We shouldn't forget the cooling. Okay, that didn't work nice. Okay, that worked. The crash on the beginning was a bit gnarly, to be fairly honest. So, and here we have the finished ground structure with our seesaw, and the parts came out really nicely. In the end, I didn't paint it because I think they are, at least for the ground plates, they will be subject to changes. For example, in the original design, the stop for the seesaw over here is a separate part, but looking at it, I don't really see the point why it should be. Also, all the mounting holes. We will do the electronic part of the machine, the inside part quite different to the original design, and therefore all these mounting holes will probably change. So yeah, this is probably not the first version I do of it. The other big question is what we learned. First, mixing the resins works really nice, but not exactly as I expected. For example, the exposure time I expected of a mixture is somewhere between the two resins, and as these are just a tenth of a second apart, I just went with the exposure time of the gray one where I put 80% in. But then all my parts were underexposed and very wonky because, as it turns out, the exposure time of the mixture is over half a second longer than the individual resins itself. I think the main reason for this is that one of them is transparent, but not what I was expecting. Now for the stability, it feels really stable. Cutting the threads took nearly as much force as cutting threads into aluminium, and I pounded the wonky part with a medium-sized hammer, and it took every blow without a scratch. With a big hammer, it looks a little bit different than it just simply shatters, and also dropping it from 2 meters to a concrete floor, it also shatters. But I think this thing will never need to experience this. So the only thing I'm still a little bit worried with resin is if the flex of the seesaw is working or not. The other thing we learned, and I'm really happy about it, is that we can do steel on my little Proxxon Lathe. And I'm also really happy that I started with the mild steel off the bolts, because the crash in the end was pretty scary. For a second I thought like I ruined the machine. Luckily everything is still nice and working. The tooling is still intact. But I suspect that would I have started with stainless, I would have at least broken the insert tooling. And now I know that I have to go with much shallower cuts and a lot slower than I initially anticipated. So, and with this, we have a framework for the next project. So next will probably be our entry wheel, and with this, it's time to end the show, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions, comments, please let them down below, and I try to answer them as quickly and correctly as possible. And all I have to say now is thanks for watching, and see you at the next time. Bye bye.